if it wants to go. There we go. Okay, so I barely looked at the assignment. I looked at it for a little bit, like while I was waiting on the, hoping that Ashley would email, but yeah. So secessionist minorities, that sounds like an interesting topic.
Yeah.
Okay. So the first question, I guess, says ethnic secession is a major trend in Europe. Recently, Scotland voted against seceding from the United Kingdom, while I don't know how you say that,
Basque.
separationists continued to fight in Spain. The following map shows what Europe would look like if all the current secessionist minorities were successful. Wow, Europe is just so different looking to me.
Yeah. And I didn't realize there were that many different groups that want to, separate from the country that they're part of.
I know all those new country names that we'd all be thinking about. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. So
We'd have to learn to pronounce all those names.
what?
We'd have to learn how to pronounce all those names.
I know those are way harder than the country names we already have.
I was thinking the same thing. I can't pronounce any of those.
Seriously. Okay, so we have to pick one of them, I guess, and do some research on the movement and answer these questions. Wow, there's so many to pick from.
Well, I picked the Basque separatists. I just kind of picked from the first question.
Yeah.
That was easier.
Sweet. So did you already learn something cool about them?
Yeah, I just did a little bit. So I learned that, well, there's in Spain there is a group called the Catalonists, and they live in a little area in kind of northeastern Spain, very close to, I think, France. And it's called Catalonia, and it's actually where Barcelona is.
Mm-hmm.
Barcelona is the capital of Catalonia, this region, and they're primarily Basque. They live there, kind of, they always have lived there, and have actually had their own. They're not a separate country, but they've had their own government, and it's kind of hard to understand because it's so different from the United States. So they kind of function in some levels separate. They have even a separate language, but they're represented. I guess they have a representative that, is part of the main government of Spain. But anyway, just recently, they tried to, well, it was actually last October. They had been talking about seceding for a long time, and they actually started to vote to do just that, to be independent, and they tried to take that action, and the Spanish government came in and got really kind of they refused to let people vote in their voting booths. They actually started the police started shooting rubber bullets into groups. It got pretty violent, apparently, and basically kicked out the leader of this area and has put it under, kind of a, I mean, I guess you'd say Spanish rule, but they basically wouldn't let them vote to secede. So, but then there's another area that's called, I think we call it the Basque Country, which is farther north, and they're a very, they're kind of, they're near the Bay of Biscay, and one of the main towns is called Bilbao, and they are very predominantly Basque too, but they live a lot more peacefully within the Spanish government, and so they're not really that interested in seceding. So it's kind of interesting that there's a lot of Basque people, and they have their own areas, but only Catalonia is the one who really, really wants to secede, and this other area, uh, you know, isn't that interested in seceding. They seem to be getting along just fine the way they are. So that's what I look at.
Yeah, I have a friend who served his mission there, and so he had to speak Spanish and Catalonian, and
Oh, really?
I just texted him to see if he had any other really cool insights about it for us too, because I know he shared some of that with me, but I totally needed the refresher because I was like, okay, I know there was Catalonia, I know they speak a slightly different language, and they wanted to secede, and that's it.
Oh, yeah. So did he serve in Barcelona?
He did.
Oh, very cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
One thing I learned about it too, because the next question is what scarce resources are they seeking to control?
Yeah.
And in this case, they're not. At least I don't know, and maybe your friend will have some insight. I mean, I didn't take enough time to find out if there were scarce resources, but what I did learn is that Catalonia is quite wealthy, and they actually want to succeed because they feel like they will do better financially if they succeed from Spain. Because Spain as a whole they're suffering financially. They're kind of going through the same economic crisis that like Turkey and Greece and all those other countries are. But Catalonia does pretty well. They don't want to be forced to abide by the same economic rules that Spain is imposing on the country as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting that he's aware. But he's then I can't remember. I know there's a place in Spain where they're really famous for this beautiful. It's called Yadro, and it's these beautiful porcelain figurines. They make really, really beautiful porcelain sculptures and figurines. And remember if it's Barcelona or if it was somewhere in the south of Spain. But they're supposed to be, some of the most beautiful. I mean, they're world famous figurines, and this porcelain is supposed to be a special, high quality. So I don't know if Barcelona is where they make those or not. That would be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know that either. One thing he just said was that it's kind of going off of the financial crisis thing too. I'd forgotten this, and he said that. Okay, so he said that Catalonia, which is like the name of the state, that's how I call it in Spain. So that's what he says.
Yeah.
Is the most prosperous area in all of Spain. And so what the Spanish government has been doing, they've been hiking up the taxes in Catalonia to help the rest of the states that are struggling.
Yeah.
So Catalonia, they worked really hard and they used their resources well and earned all this money, and now Spain's taking it to help the rest of the states. And they're like, whoa, this isn't fair. We didn't do anything.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You can't tax us and not the rest of the states kind of idea.
Uh-huh.
And then so because in Madrid they're like changing the taxes, Barcelona, where they have all the they're the biggest manufacturing state in Spain, and so it's affecting their business too and causing them higher business costs, and so it's just raising all of their costs.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I feel like they're trying to control a resource that is money right now, and it's not scarce for them, but they're scared that it will become scarce.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. It's like Spain is making them Barcelona pay for all the financial problems that the rest of the country is having by raising the taxes and
crazy. So then, do we think they deserve their own autonomous country? Why or why not?
Yeah, I kind of think they do under these circumstances because they are, they've managed to, you know, work hard and become successful, and they have tried over the years for hundreds of years. All the Basques have tried on some level to remain separate and distinct, with their own language and their own culture, and they've it's something that I did a little bit of history. They've and they've kind of through the hundreds of years have constantly tried to actually become independent, and they've always been forced or not to. And so one, currently it would be financially beneficial to them, and they wanted this for so long. They tried for so long to be independent, and they just haven't been able to. So
Yeah.
in this case, I don't see why. I mean, I don't know what kind of impact it would have on Spain as a whole, but I don't think Catalonia should be responsible for trying to support the rest of the country because of their financial situation.
And then another thing that he said, because I thought it would be important to know, like, was, how did Catalonia become a part of Spain? How long have they been a part of Spain? And he said that in the 80s, they had a dictator, and Catalonia was trying to succeed in the Basque separatists at the same time then, and he started bombing Barcelona because of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of violence. I read that too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then he said that also before Spain like existed as a unified country, Catalonia was one of the largest city states there was, and they were always wealthy and prosperous. So it seems like Spain kind of conquered them just for their wealth. So it definitely seems like that was unfair.
Yeah, it's interesting. Spain, the little bit I read too, they've all there's a lot of other regions where they kind of, I think the Basque is the most predominant sort of separate, it's not separate, but apparently there's, a lot of other regions within Spain where they kind of do their own thing. So it's a very unusual conglomeration of these different regions. And one thing I read is, I guess it's kind of a standing joke that the national anthem of Spain has no words because nobody can agree on, on what they should be, because there's so many individual and independent kind of areas that you know
Mm-hmm.
don't
Yeah, I just think it's crazy.
group, so they don't actually have words to their national anthem.
Well, and it's funny because in America, we're a huge, geographically huge country, and everything feels so connected.
Yeah,
Like, I think everyone identifies as American, even if maybe they don't love everything about America or they don't like the politics of America. Or you could be from Maryland versus California, and you still have things that you're definitely going to identify as together.
yeah,
And so it's just crazy to see countries that are so much smaller but have such rich diversity in such a small space.
yeah. It is interesting. It's funny too. I think that even though we have times where we're not feeling so proud to be a part of the United States because of whether it's government decisions or the problems that we see. But I think when certain things happen, like I always think about when 9/11 happened, all of a sudden there's a real sense of patriotism and unification, and
Mm-hmm.
I think there is still, even with the problems that we see in our country, there is still a sense of unity that is above and beyond most other countries.
Yeah, yeah, it's just really interesting.
Oh, and my sister used to live in Bilbao, actually.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, she and I think it was near Bilbao. It wasn't actually Bilbao. It was in a little town called Santander, and it was really close to Bilbao. I think, and I went and visited her there, and it's right on the coast of the Bay of Biscay, and so I got to go visit her there, and I think we probably drove through Bilbao because I think it's like the main town that's close to this one smaller little village called it was beautiful.
Wow, that sounds awesome.
It was really cool. It was really fun. It was cool. But, yeah. So I don't know if we were. It's kind of a weird assignment, huh?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting though.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna take just a moment to write some of what you said. So your friend said that Catalonia is the richest state, right?
Yeah.
In Spain, and that Spain has raised taxes in order to support the rest of the country. Raised taxes in Catalonia.
Mm-hmm. And apparently not in other places in Spain.
Okay. And that's affected the business. So the businesses have been affected by that.
Yeah, so it actually, like when Madrid makes decisions like that, it affects all the manufacturers in Barcelona.
Okay.
I asked him his opinion on whether they should be able to secede just out of curiosity and to see if there were any other like thoughts that maybe he wouldn't have thought of. And he said, he's like, well, I'm definitely biased, but they've been oppressed by Madrid for way too long. So yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I got as I was reading a little bit, that for hundreds of years they've been repressed and in very violent ways. Like he said, seems like back in the late 70s, maybe it was the early 80s, they actually killed. I mean, they assassinated the
Yeah.
leader of that area. Okay, so I guess we're supposed to write all this up. There's really no scarce resources. They are, you said it, they are the largest manufacturing state too.
Yeah. So I said that they had resources that they were afraid would become scarce.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of the opposite for them.
Yeah. So I guess they are fighting over scarce resources, it's just scarce to the rest of the country.
Yeah.
So the rich manufacturing and just the monetary support, I guess.
Uh-huh. Okay. What do you think they should succeed? To start wearing Bass t-shirts. Or Catalonian t-shirts, I should say. I wonder what it would, it would be interesting to know just how devastating it would be to the economy, the overall economy of Spain if they did.
Yeah. No, it's true. You have to really think about what it will do to everyone else too, even if it is unfair. Something to consider.
Okay.
Alrighty. So are you ready to move on to the China scenario?
Yeah.
Sweet. So it says that there's some other groups that are trying to secede from the majority Han culture. I don't know how to say that one.
No.
But so I guess should we just read this article really quick and then
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. It's just funny. I think I never think of conflicts like that existing in China.
Of what?
I
Of,
think I don't think of like those kind of conflicts existing in China, you know?
oh, yeah, yeah. I know so little about it. It just seems like they have such a tight control on everything that I didn't know there was that kind of conflict either.
Yeah, me either. I didn't even realize that they would try to fight for things like that. Which, like, duh, we're all humans and we all want those things, but you just like don't know to what extent they can. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
okay, so what role do you think ethnic stratification plays in secessionist movements? Well, I think especially in this one, it's definitely ethnic groups for sure. And it seems like China's already been a pretty like dominating country, so it makes sense that the majority would, oppress the rest and force them to want to leave. So
Yeah. Um, and it sounds like they really they have a tight hold on their on their the valuable resources. When we talk about ethnic stratification, it's how the dominant have they're the ones that control all the those the value, what do they call it, the value resources, I guess, the education and the politics and all of that. And even though they seem to kind of make small efforts for providing systems of education of these smaller ethnic groups, kind of they kind of just give lip service to it. It was interesting how they talked about how when President Obama was visiting the country, all of a sudden they were ashamed of this group of people, and they were trying to, the landlord was trying to throw the one fast woman out of their apartment, and they try and provide some jobs for people, but at the same time they fire them from the job or they don't give them a job. So it's kind of a weird scenario. So yeah, the dominant group seems to definitely not help the situation at all. They even though they say they are and they make these feeble attempts, they really don't seem to be seriously doing it.
yeah. Hmm. That next question, I don't know what to think about it.
One thing I was thinking about that is I remember the part where they say that they tried to teach Mandarin in these small villages. And some of them they refused to teach it in their schools. So to me, it's kind of a unique situation. It's really different from like Catalonia, where they were successful and wealthy as a country and educated and could really exist on their own if they, seceded. But in this case, these people are so poor and so illiterate that I think they would fail as a group.
At the same time, it did tell the story of the one girl in there who was educated and did have a degree and went to the city and they told her, go back to your farmland, So it seems like
say that a lot of them don't want to. So my fear is that if it would be an interesting thing because it seems like most of the people who had the opportunity to be educated that came from these areas really didn't want to go back. So would they just kind of, or would it be more like we've seen in some other countries where, they do go back, they do want to help their country, they want to help them improve and grow, but at the same time, the country or this area themselves don't seem to want to. They don't. They feel like it's denying their, what do they say, their traditions or something.
But then at the same time, if they're not learning Mandarin, but they are on their own and they have autonomy, maybe they would be successful because they don't need to know Mandarin if they're just with their people.
True.
Not that I think they shouldn't try to learn Mandarin. I think the best thing would be, to work hard and prove themselves. But
yeah, we probably don't know enough. Yeah, it would be interesting to know if they could actually. I mean, seems like there's cultures in Tibet that pretty much exist on their own, a farming community. So you're right. That they just because they don't exist in the same way that we think we deem as successful.
Right. I guess it depends on how you define it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that they couldn't exist in the way that they want to, which is to be farmers and to, keep their language and live out their ways. But do you think that maybe as the young people grow up and more people take advantage of the opportunities provided to them to be educated and they don't want to go back, that the whole culture as a whole will start to actually diminish?
I don't know. That's a really good question.
I think I heard something. Have you ever seen that? I think it was I can't remember the name of it. It was something like, I can't remember. It was a movie that it was not a movie in theaters, but it was a kind of a learning video or something. But it was about how that very thing has happened in several countries. I think one of them is Latvia, where they the people are moving out. So people are not having children anymore, and the younger generation has moved out to other countries and sought to live elsewhere. And the country of, I think it was Latvia, it could be a different country, is just shrinking because their population is shrinking, their economy is shrinking because people are not there to work and to make money and to support the economy, and so it's just absolutely just diminishing and shrinking not only as a country but even as a culture. And so I think that's a possibility that could happen with with this in this situation.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, so this one's about the United States. Well, that's fun. We were just talking about that. So the U.S. is home to a wide variety of ethnic groups, including Italians, Irish, Japanese, Mexicans, Native Hawaiians, Navajo, African Americans, and many more. Which ethnic group would be most likely to become a secessionist minority and why?
I don't know. Interesting question. I'll be curious to see what you think.
Well, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes with the little that I know about other ethnic groups. I feel like there's maybe a couple. I mean, so like I could see like Native Americans, so especially like Navajo, because they had their land taken from them, and in some ways, you know, a lot of them still choose to live on reservations and to live a little bit separately. So I could see that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. In fact, I couldn't see anybody else because I don't think there's a large enough, other than African Americans, I don't think there's really that a large enough population of any of these ethnic groups to where they and where they live together kind of and maintain some level of autonomy. The only ones that really look more closely like that is like what you said, the Navajos on reservations, and they maintain, you know, a real pride in their own culture. Where the rest of these groups seem to assimilate into the American culture more.
Very true. Yeah, no, I definitely think Navajo and other Native Americans because, like, well, I mean, I have ancestors that were Navajo, and I served my mission in Arizona.
Wow.
There's a reservation there. Um, and I even remember just like there were people in some of the wards that I served in who had just left the reservation or even who had left, 10 years ago. And they would always just say, like, well, my people do this and my people do that. And we have a different way of living. And like, they didn't feel like they were lacking anything on the reservation, which according to like modern culture in a lot of countries, they would be lacking a lot of things and resources, but they didn't feel like they were lacking anything, and they just wanted to like live their culture and have it be understood and not have it be the weird outside thing. So
yeah, and it seems like even though there's people within the Native American culture that are educated and they come out and they gain that experience, there's a real devotion to their own culture, and they go back and help them, but help them in a way that they're not trying to change the culture, but try and enrich it and maybe improve the areas in terms of making them just more, financially solvent and things like that. But I think there's a real honor and respect for the culture as a whole, even among the Native Americans who, are highly educated and there's they real pride. Whereas I'm not sure the example that was given in China, I don't think there's a sense of pride to where they want to make that culture exist within their own country. At least the young people as they leave, they're going to leave and stay away. And Native Americans, I don't think that happens.
yeah, that's very true because they don't want to leave. This is their land. This is their home.
Yeah, where would they go? Yeah, it is their land.
Yeah. And then I think the second question is very interesting. Which ethnic group would be the least likely to become a secessionist minority?
I think Mexican Americans. They left their own country. I don't think they're going to try and leave this country, so to speak. I mean, not leave it physically, but to try and keep their own country because they already had one and they didn't like it. So I don't see. I think they really are the least likely. in terms of, I guess I would say least likely in terms of greatest numbers. So you would think because there's the greatest number of Mexican Americans, they would, in terms of the numbers, be the most likely because they could in terms of their numbers. But I don't think they're motivated to do that. And the rest of the groups, I think, like I said before, they're smaller in numbers and they, for the same reason, not like because they want to be here and assimilate into this culture.
And with the African Americans, I think that I don't think that they would become a secessionist minority. I think that they want to pave a way for themselves here, and they want to change the culture of America where people are accepted. I don't think leaving would ever be their solution, you know.
Right.
So.
And I think if they tried to do that, they are almost working in reverse. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Because they want to say, hey, you know, our people were not brought here by their own will, but we are going to make a life for ourselves here, and we're worth being here.
And we don't want to be separated from the culture. We want to be accepted. But then if we're to secede, then they'd be almost going back in time and separating themselves.
It'd be undoing all of the good that they worked so hard for.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, that looks good to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I still need to fill in some things on my own sheet, but.
So actually that last question, I agree with you. I think it could be that the ethnic group that would be least likely would be African Americans too. Maybe it's kind of a toss up between the two.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very true.
All right. Well, it sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me too.